Hello, welcome. Yeah. So what we need to do now is to just talk about this subject about competence. Competence. Yeah. So what you're looking at the moment is to demonstrate that you are competent to practice as a chartered surveyor. That's what you're looking at. Okay. So let's talk about competence. Yeah. So this way I look at it is that in order to demonstrate competence, the first thing that you need is knowledge. So you've got the knowledge aspect on here. And then, using that knowledge, you develop some practical skills. So you've got the skills, yeah? And then, the third thing that you need to do is to practice. So what we've done is actually put it onto this triangle, yeah? And this triangle has got the skills, the knowledge, and the practice. And the practice itself is at the base of that particular cycle, yeah? So, let's think about it. Let's think about the practice. How important is the practice? The practice, if you think about it, is something which is fundamental to demonstrating some competence. I'll just tell you by using an example. Yeah? During the COVID crisis in the UK, what happened was I was watching one of these interviews, and this interview was given by one of the members of parliament. And this member of parliament, her background is that she's a medical doctor. And one of the interviewers, what she asked her was, is she going to go out there to help during this time of the pandemic? And her answer was, it's not as straightforward as that. Because she has been out of practice for some time. She can't go directly to do some practice as a medical practitioner. What she needs to do is to relearn some of the skills. That's how important it is. Yeah. So what you need to do in order to maintain competence, what you need to do is to keep on practicing and practicing. So that's why you see athletes, for example, what they do in order to maintain their competence. What they do is keep on practicing. Yeah? Keep on practicing so that they can maintain that level of competence. So, as an APC candidate, what do you do to maintain that level of practice? Yeah? One of the things that you can do is at your place of work, obviously, you are assigned some of the projects. And using those projects, you can look at different competences and make sure that you maintain those levels of competence by keeping on practicing. So what I've done is summarized for you different areas where you can do some practicing. Let's just look at some of these. Yeah. So in order to develop practical skills, what you have to do is to do some practice that we have just talked about. So what are the things that you can do? Yeah? The first thing is experience from projects. Yeah? So this would be practice based on the projects that you have been assigned, yeah, that are within your portfolio. But the issue is that those projects that are within your portfolio might not necessarily cover all the skills. So in order to ensure that you've got a broad base of skills, what you need to do is look at the second point, which is learn from some mentors. So we're talking about working with some mentors, because your mentors would be working on other projects. Yeah? So they can take you through and tell you, or you learn from them, how they approach and resolve certain problems. Yeah? So that's how you learn. Another thing is that in the office environment that you're in, it might be that for that particular year, you don't have any relevant projects that you can learn from in order to develop certain skills. There's a third way you can do it. You can emulate case studies from previous projects. So the third thing is emulating case studies from previous projects. And this is very important. Even if you have all the required projects, it's worthwhile undertaking this exercise about emulating case studies from previous projects. The reason for that is that if you think about it, one of the requirements of the RICS is that what you need to do is to demonstrate that you've learned all these practical skills and that you are able to practice these skills at level 3, which is actually giving reasoned advice. Yeah? So, first of all, that reasoned advice is actually given based on the projects that you're working on. That's the first port of call. But then, as you go into practice, you're expected to use these practical skills in order to apply them into new situations. So, by doing this simple exercise of emulating case studies from other projects, you are using the skills that you have and applying it to situations that you have not dealt with before. So that's a very good practice that you can engage yourself in by looking at some case studies of other projects that had something to do with the office or external, and look at the way you would approach it to solve those practical problems. Okay, so in summary, what we have talked about is that in order to develop competence, what you need to do is to have the knowledge. That's number one. Number two, you have to develop these practical skills. And number three is practice. Yeah? Without practice, nothing happens. Yeah? So in order to perfect yourself, what you need to do is to keep on practicing. You have to learn in a similar way that athletes do. In order to develop competence, they keep on practicing every day. And similarly, in your case, in order to go ahead with your APC, which is just the starting point, yeah, because this leads to the rest of your career, what you need to do is keep on practicing. Thank you for listening. Looking forward to helping you in this journey so that you become qualified as a chartered surveyor. Thank you again for listening. Thank you.